Hi everybody and welcome to Wednesday Night Live with Accepting Alice. Except I'm not live because it's in the afternoon, but I was just sitting in the sun because it's a beautiful day in Sydney, and I was just thinking about all the Accepting Alice stuff that I want to talk about, and I really got into the energy of her and the excitement of sharing, and I thought actually I'm just going to go inside now and record a video for you rather than wait and try and pull in that energy again at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So here's Accepting Alice, and her flower is a snapdragon, which is about releasing anger and hate, which is really, really interesting because that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So it's so perfect that Accepting Alice is this week when there is so much anger and hatred in New South Wales at the moment, and I'm sure that's spreading across Australia. It's just that I'm exposed to it here. So we are obviously in lockdown, and we have a vaccine, and we have people who are for and against the vaccine. We have people who are for and against lockdown, and there are people that think COVID is not real, and there are people that think COVID is really real and devastating, and all these different perspectives are around the world at the moment, or around us at the moment. And it's really interesting. It's not interesting, it's actually heartbreaking watching what's happening on social media, to the point where after the weekend I actually went to bed on Sunday night and I just burst into tears because of the sadness that I had seen over the weekend after the riots or after the protest on Saturday. And I just was like, I'm not going to go on social media anymore because there is no acceptance there at all. And what Accepting Alice is about is realizing that every single person has a perspective on an event or on something that happened. So with COVID, everybody has a different perspective. And when we don't accept what other people's perspective is, and when we try and push and ram our perspective down each other's throats, it creates that anger and tension. And this is how wars escalate. Like, at the end of the day, wars, like if you look at the Middle East wars, they are built around a different of opinion or perspective around religion. That you have one side that believes this religion is right, and you have another side that believes this religion is right, and they're at war fighting to convince the other people that their religion is correct. And that's what's happening in society at the moment on social media. The people who are pro-vaccine are pushing their beliefs on the anti-vaccine people. The anti-vaccine are trying to push their beliefs on the pro-vaccine people. The pro-lockdown people are pushing their beliefs on the non-pro-lockdown people. And there is just this huge anger in the society at the moment, and everybody is coming out on social media expecting the other people and screaming and yelling through social media, expecting the other people to change their perspective or their belief, because if I yell louder, you might be able to listen to me better. And that's not going to happen. If wars are built on different perspectives, people aren't going to get your perspective just because you shout at them louder or harder on social media. And that's what Accepting Alice is all about, is realizing that every single person is entitled to their perspective. And it's about accepting that their perspective is different to yours and you're not going to change them. And that can be really, really hard to do, especially when you're really passionate about your perspective and your beliefs. However, when you can try and bring in more and more Accepting Alice and just accept people for who they are, the more at peace you will feel. And one thing that I like to say to people is, your perspective is not your truth. So the truth about vaccines is not that one is better than the other. The truth around lockdown is not that one is better than the other. Everybody has their perspective. At the end of the day, the truth is there's a disease, there is lockdown, and there is a vaccine. That's the truth. They're the facts. Everything else around that is perspective. So the people who think that having the vaccine is going to stop the disease and make us better and move on with our lives, that's their perspective. The people who think that not having the vaccine and the vaccine hasn't been tested in an experiment, that's their truth and their perspective, but that's their version of truth, and the other people have their own version of truth. And we're all trying to scream at each other and say, you need to belong, you need to believe my version of the truth. And it isn't the truth, it's just your perspective. So let's take this into a really light note rather than sticking to the COVID examples. We have a bath mat in our bathroom, and you know, the bath mat that you put down when you have a shower. And if I have a shower first, I leave the bath mat down for Scott. If he has a shower first, he picks the bath mat up. So when I go in there, I have to put the bath mat back down. The truth is, we have a bath mat, we both use it in our showers. My perspective of that event is, I leave the towel down for him so he doesn't have to worry about it. And he can just waltz on into the bathroom, it's all set up, ready to go. And then after his shower, and we're both done, he can pick the mat up. His perspective of that same event is, God, she's lazy. She can't even pick the bath mat up and I have to do it for her. So can you see, even in a really simple example about a bath mat, we had differing perspectives. And it wasn't until we sat down where I said to him one day, why don't you just leave the bath mat down for me like I do for you? And he goes, I hate it that you leave it down. He said, it makes me think that you didn't want to even like that you're lazy and you can't be bothered picking the bath mat up. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm doing it out of respect for you. Can you see two perspectives? The truth is there's a bath mat on the floor. That's the truth. That's the fact. My belief wasn't the truth. His belief isn't the truth or perspective, but we both had different perspectives about this event. And we both have held on to these perspectives for years. We haven't even had a conversation about it. And he's sitting there going, God, she's lazy. And I'm there going, God, I'm considerate. Can you see? Out of one event, there's two perspectives. And when you can bring in acceptance and realize that we are all connected and that we are all entitled to our perspective, then you will have a much easier, lighter change journey. Because I guarantee it, that the people that piss you off in life or the people that make you angry or whatever, it's that you are not accepting of their values or their beliefs or their perspective. And it comes from this superiority complex, or it's a bit of a control or things like that. You know, like if I'm not going to accept you for who you are, then I actually must think that I'm a little bit better than you because I'm right. So I think I'm right and that I'm better than you, so I'm not going to accept who you are. And this is all very subconscious. And it's interesting because in my coaching, I do a process called shadow values. And we look at, so in the book, we look at real values and your positive values. And I do that in my clarity call as well. But then we have also this thing called shadow values. And they're the parts of us that we don't really want to share with each other, but we value it very, very highly. So one of mine is superiority. And I like to feel superior around other people. Now, that's not something that you would go and say to people because it's a shadow value. It's the thing that you keep hidden. But you'll find that when you discover your shadow values, you will realize how much they drive your non-acceptance of other things and people. So I did an exercise recently where I listed down all the people that were pissing me off. And I wrote their names and I went, why are they making me angry? And this. And all it came down to for me was a lack of acceptance that their perspective is different to mine and that I had this shadow value going on that I have to feel superior to them, so that because of that, I'm going to degrade their values and their beliefs because they're not what I believe. And I don't think that that's okay. So that's why they're annoying me, because they have different beliefs and values to me and a different perspective of things. And my arrogance of superiority and my shadow value was driving that. As soon as I could bring my awareness to this, I brought in my accepting Alice, and I was just like, they are who they are, and I'm not going to change them. And why should I be judging them around who their beliefs are and what they believe in and what their perspective is? Because who makes me right? Nobody makes me right, and I'm not right. In the bath mat scenario, I wasn't right. It was just my perspective. Scott wasn't right. It was just his perspective. There is no right or wrong when it comes to different perspectives. Nobody has the truth. The truth is a fact, and it's not a fact that we look at with our perspective. As soon as we look at it with our own perspective, which comes from our own values, our own awareness, our own self-development, our upbringing, all these things, we have a different perspective on stuff. And that is not the truth of the situation, is just your perspective. And it is so important, if you can grasp this concept, if you can really understand that you and your perspectives are not what everybody else sees, and you'll congregate with people who have similar perspectives and beliefs. That's what will happen. But the people who aren't on your team, they also have the right to have their own beliefs, and you have to have acceptance of that to have peace and harmony and stuff. So if you're feeling angry and resentful to other people, I invite you to bring in your accepting Alice and really have a look at it and say, what is it about them that is annoying me? Be honest with yourself. It's what I did the other day. I went through and I just really had a stock take of my friends, and it was all me. It was just all me. And then I was brought in acceptance, and it just lightened the whole mood. It's interesting too that sometimes we go into relationships, and I've done this in the past, and you think they're good, but they have a few things that I would change about them. And we think that we can go into a relationship changing this person to be the version of a partner that we really want them to be. And you can't do that. And that is also a part about accepting Alice. So if you're on your change journey and you have people in your life who you're trying to change and you're not accepting them for who you are, then you have a choice to make. You can either let them go from your life, or you can choose to accept them the way they are. That's really the only two choices that you have. And if you can't accept them, and if you can't get past the difference of beliefs and opinions and values, then it's time to let that person go, because you're going to move in a different direction anyway. And even if you didn't, and even if you stayed friends or in a relationship with that person, you're going to get to the point where it just gets so bad and it explodes. So acceptance is all about bringing peace into your world by really understanding that your perspective isn't right, that you can't force your perspective onto other people. Doesn't matter how much you shout, doesn't matter how many posts you do on Facebook, doesn't matter how much research you post. You can't get somebody to change their mind, because they have their own perspective and their own beliefs around the same situation. And that's all I really want to say, I think. So passionate about this, and she's so important and she's so beautiful. If you can find in your heart to bring acceptance in this week and practice it towards other people around situations, your friends, think of situations in your house like the bath mat where you're perceiving one thing. Ask people in the household, do you think that when I do this, I do it for this reason? And see what they say. They'll have a completely different perspective of it, and it's just a nice light way to check. But if you're feeling yuck and you've got people that are irritating you, this is the key. This is your big crux of your change journey to really bring in a big shift. Massive shift. It was one of the biggest lessons I ever learned. I say that all the time about all the things that I've learned, but this is one of the bigger ones. So enjoy. It's actually, we are in the self-acceptance category, but accepting Alice for this time is actually just about you accepting others, I think. And we'll talk about our self-acceptance with the other characters. So enjoy, have a good week. I'll see you next week, and I will be live. I just was a little bit passionate today and wanted to do something. So take care, feel free to comment, and I'll see you next week. Bye.